Good morning, students. So let us start our class, and I will share the text with you. So I hope you can see the text. And in our last class, we had stopped here, where this is the speech of Beelzebub, as you will remember. And him Beelzebub thus answered. So he was, of course, agreeing with Satan that uh, they should call their companions who were lying, prostrate on the lake of fire. It is on the burning lake. They were unconscious, but they should be called. As we erewhile astounded and amazed, no wonder fallen such a pernicious height. So uh, after this debacle, they were obviously lying there. So let us start from here. Now, uh, his scares had ceased when the superior fiend was moving toward the shore. So, even before Beelzebub stopped speaking, the superior fiend is, of course, Satan, who is his leader. He was moving towards the shore. And now we will get another epic simile. We had seen or read about one epic simile where Milton was comparing Satan's huge bulk with the sea beast Leviathan and with other, creatures. Now, Milton is going to compare uh, Satan's shield with, other things, certain things. His ponderous shield, ethereal temper, massy, large, and round, behind him cast. So here we can see that the big shield that Satan is carrying on his shoulders. So that is, of course, uh, uh, as we can see here, that the shield is ponderous. Ponderous, obviously, it has a different meaning. Ponderous here, it means that it is very heavy. So the shield is quite heavy, and uh, ethereal temper. Ethereal temper meaning that it is made of metal which has been tempered in heaven. So ethereal means heavenly or divine. And now, to temper a metal, what does it mean? It means that uh, some other elements are mixed. So to, you know, kind of ethereal temper here means some other elements that have been uh, mixed with it, and uh, there is some other metals or substances to obtain greater hardness or brightness. So the idea is here that Satan's shield, it possessed a heavenly degree of hardness and elasticity. So it was not an ordinary shield, of course. It was uh, a kind of made of ethereal temper, massy, large, and round, behind him cast. So the shield is being described here by the poet. And obviously, as we can see, that the term ethereal, it can also mean of ether, that is from Greek aithein, to ignite or blaze. So obviously it has a kind of some kind of a divine quality, as it was made. Maybe it was tempered in the celestial fire of heaven. So as you can see here, uh, in Iliad, uh, Homer has compared Achilles' shield to the moon. And here also, as you see here, the broad circumference hung on his shoulders like the moon, whose orb, through optic glass, the Tuscan artist views at evening from the top of Fisoli. So let us look at this description. So it was cast behind him. The broad circumference hung on his shoulders like the moon, whose orb, through optic glass, the Tuscan artist views. So here, obviously, Milton is talking about the large, massive, and heavy round shield made of metal that was tempered in heaven, and that was he was carrying that on his back. Satan was carrying that on his back. So obviously, Milton is describing Milton was is describing this shield that Satan was carrying. Okay, so let us look at the description again. And here, it was made of metal tempered in heaven, and its broad circumference, it hung on his shoulders like the moon. Now, whose circular disc, orb here means circular disc, through optic glass. Through optic glass, the Tuscan artist views at evening. So optic glass, it means you know that it was in early 17th century. It was the word for a telescope. So it was said that Galileo, the Italian astronomer, you have heard of Galileo Galilei. So he had invented the telescope, and by this phrase, Tuscan artist, uh, Milton alludes to Galileo. Now, Galileo actually was, now the word artist is used in a skilled sense, in a sense of a skilled or learned experimenter or worker. And when Milton, in his youth, when he was touring the different countries of Europe, he went to Italy, and he visited Galileo, who was, of course, then a very old man. And he was living in Florence, near Florence, the city of Florence. You must have heard about the city of Florence. In about, it was 1638 to 39 when Milton was touring different some of the European countries like Italy, France, or like these countries. So obviously here there is the reference to Galileo, the Tuscan artist views. Now, why? Actually, Milton visited him, and Galileo had used his invention of the telescope to sort of, you know, kind of, uh, he was to make a number of predictions, or a number of, you can say, uh, statements about astronomy. one of the predictions, as you know, was the fact that Galileo had declared that the earth moved around the sun, and for that he was criticized. And obviously, Milton, when he had visited Galileo, as we see here, there is a reference to this place called Fisoli, which was a hill outside Florence, about you can say about 3 miles outside Florence, and it was a little hill. And Milton is saying that, or describing that Galileo looked at the moon through his telescope from this hill. So the shield of Satan that is described or compared to this, the moon that was viewed by Galileo. And this is the first part of the Homeric simile as we find it here. Now, again, there is another part to this. There is another part to this. There is a second part of this simile, and here let us read the description, and then we will look at the simile from the top of Fisoli, or in Valverno, to descry new lands, rivers, or mountains in her spotty globe. So here Milton is talking of another place. Here he is talking of first Fisoli, and next he is talking about this place called Valderno, which is the Italian name for the valley of the Arno, Arno, in which Florence is situated. So, or in Valderno, to describe means to spot or see new lands, rivers, or mountains in her spotty globe. That references to the fact that Galileo was trying to discover rivers or mountains in the moon. He was looking at the moon through his telescope, and he was trying to describe. He was looking at the moon through his telescope. So he wanted to find out about this new, heavenly, you can say, object in the sky, and therefore he wanted to sort of explore this. So this is the simile of how Satan's shield looked. So there are two descriptions here. Rather, it is described compared to the moon, but in this way. Spotty globe here, of course, it means the moon. So as you know, the moon has a number of spots. If we look at the moon, it appears like that. So Galileo was trying to discover new things there. Now, after describing the shield of Satan, Milton now goes on to describe the spear. Milton now describes the spear which Satan was carrying. On the one hand, he had his shield on his back, which was of a huge size, but the spear that he was carrying was also extremely, lengthy or big. So here we can look at the description of the spear. His spear, to equal which the tallest pine, hewn on Norwegian hills, to be the mast of some great admiral, were but a wand. So, in order to give us an idea of the huge length of the spear that Satan was carrying, here Milton tries to sort of, compare it with the tallest pine tree, the tallest pine tree that grows on the Norwegian hills, that is the hills of Norway. And uh, in those days, the hills of Norway were one of the main sources of timber for the rest of Europe. So, very fine timber or wood was obtained from the forests from Norway. So, here Milton is referring to the Norwegian hills, the very uh, big pine tree. So, hewn means cut down. Uh, to be the mast of some great admiral. Now, admiral here it means the word admiral. Admiral. So the word actually previously it meant either the commander or the principal ship of a fleet of ships. Now, here Milton perhaps uses this word to mean the second, thing, that is the uh, kind of a principal ship of the fleet. And the word actually it has come from the Arabic word Amir, 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 which means ruler. Amir, it's a familiar word in Bengali also. Amir Omra, we say like that. So Amir is actually an Arabic word, but it is used in Bengali, as you know. So from there it has come, this amiral, which has this double meaning. So here the point is Milton is describing the spear of Satan, and he is describing it, comparing it with the mast, the very long and sturdy mast of the principal ship of a fleet. So compared to that, Satan's spear would uh, actually that great mast of that ship would look like a wand, a magic wand in the hand of a magician. So it would be looking like a tiny wand. So just we have to imagine the immensity, the immense size of the spear. So that is the point of this simile. And obviously, we can understand that the hugeness of Satan's spear. So we can look at this description and understand, have some kind of an idea. So these are the epic similes which Milton employs to describe the firstly the obviously the shield that Satan was carrying, and then the spear that he was carrying. He walked with to support uneasy steps over the burning marl. So he was using this spear as a kind of a walking stick. So obviously he was still not fully fit after being uh, thrown from heaven and burnt by this thunderbolt by God. So he was actually walking in a shaky way, uneasy steps over the burning marl. So here, the burning marl here, it means the burning lake, and or the ground on which he was stepping. So we can understand that here Milton, actually marl, M-A-R-L, it means soil or earth. So the word suggests a heavy type of soil. So he was walking unsteadily and holding the spear, not like those steps on heaven's azure. So his steps were not so firm or sure, uh, which uh, he had walked with, and obviously Satan's former style of walking in heaven, that was not to be here, not to be found here. So azure means uh, kind of a common blue kind of his atmosphere. So Satan had changed, and the torrid climb smote on him sore besides, vaulted with fire. So the torrid climb, obviously here, the torrid climb here, the climb uh, is referring to the atmosphere, the gloomy, stuffy atmosphere of hell, and the vaulted here means the fire that beat down from the roof of hell as well from the ground. So both from the upward region of hell and from downward region, fire vaulted. So it smote on him, it struck him sore besides. So it was a really stuffy and extremely hot place. He had to endure the heat of hell, vaulted with fire, the fire that was always burning in hell. So this is the description of hell. And now the word climb, if it also, the word besides referring to place, it bears a sense of a place with a particular climate or temperature. So it was, of course, a very uh, kind of hot temperature, a place of where fire was always burning. So Satan was feeling the heat of hell. Nathless, he so endured, till on the beach of that inflamed sea he stood and called his legions. So here, nathless, obviously it means nevertheless. Nevertheless, that is Satan, endured the pain. And finally, he reached the edge of the ground where the lake started. He stood there and he called his companions, the legions, the army of the fallen angels, who were lying entranced. That is, they were lying unconscious on the burning lake of hell. And they were angel forms. Of course, they were angels, but they were fallen angels. Now, you will get another epic simile here, where Milton is going to describe the fallen angels, who were the numerous fallen angels. It's difficult to count those fallen angels because they were so numerous, so large in number, and they were lying entranced, thick as autumnal leaves that strew the brooks in Vallombrosa, where the Etrurian shades high overarched embower. So just look at this simile first. This is the first simile, how Milton describes the fallen angels. So we have to look at, we'll get a number of epic similes here. And if you are given a question as to the use of the epic simile, how does Milton use the epic simile in Paradise Lost Book 1, you will have to make a kind of a list of all these epic similes, starting from the stature of Satan, and the shield, the spear. Just make small notes when you study the poem, and we have to describe one by one. So obviously now we come to the here to the fallen angels. Now how are they lying there? What is their condition? So Milton is saying that they were lying entranced, thick as autumnal leaves. Autumnal leaves, that is they were lying like the numerous leaves that had fallen from the trees, the withered autumnal leaves. So during autumn, some trees shed their leaves, and they were lying on the brooks. Straw the brooks. Straw the brooks means that here the multitude of the fallen angels, they are compared to the autumnal leaves of Vallombrosa, this place called Vallombrosa. Now Milton, as I told you a little earlier, that he had stayed in Florence in the autumn of 1638, and he remembered the fallen leaves of this place called Vallombrosa, which was a shady valley about 18 miles from the city of Florence. And here is the comparison, the simile is quite appropriate, Firstly, because the autumnal leaves in that valley, they sort of choked the streams that that had that was flowing through the forest. And likewise, the fallen angels, they were lying on the surface of the fiery lake, because they uh, they also, like the fallen leaves in Vallombrosa, the leaves were withered, and that is why they had fallen. They were not fresh leaves. And like fallen leaves, the fallen angels also, they had lost their much of their glory because of the, as you know, the thunderbolt, the effect of the thunderbolt that they had to endure. So the comparison here is quite appropriate. We can look at this image, and of course it is an apt comparison. So Vallombrosa is a shady valley. It is a valley near Florence, and here in Vallombrosa were the Etrurian shades, high overarched embower. So Etrurian shades, the Etruria, Etruria, was the Roman name for the region that embraces, or that may be found in modern Tuscany. Now the shades, this word shades is a kind of a metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech, as you know. It stands for foliage, or the woods, the forests. So here were the Etrurian shades, that is the Etrurian forests, high overarched embowered. So they were like the big trees that grew there. They were making a kind of a canopy. They're overarching on that place. So this is the first part of the epic simile. So how the fallen angels were lying there on the burning lake as the autumnal leaves in Vallombrosa, where the Etrurian shades, high overarched embower. Now the next part of the description, let us come to the next part. Or scattered sedge afloat, when with fierce winds Orion armed hath vexed the Red Sea coast, whose waves o'erthrew Busiris and his Memphian chivalry. So now let us look at the second part of this description, scattered sedge. So after the description here, the scattered sedge, of course, it might refer to the kind of, the bewildered condition of the fallen angels. And here Milton describes these fallen angels as, the masses of sedge. Sedge means seaweed that were floating on the Red Sea, where its coast was agitated by, or it was lashed by, the storms under the influence of Orion. Orion, it is a constellation supposed to represent a giant hunter armed with a belt, a sword, and a club. And it was believed that if this was constellation was seen in the sky, then it would bring storm and rain and fierce winds. So here, uh, the fallen angels are compared to the scattered seaweeds which were floating afloat. When the fierce winds, Orion armed, Orion, that is the constellation Orion, which had a human-like figure with its, looking like a giant hunter with a belt, sword, and club, and it was uh, accompanied by the fierce winds, and the Red Sea was ruffled by these stormy winds. And what happened? Whose waves overthrew Busiris and his Memphian chivalry. So here we get the description of how these uh, fiery winds, or rather stormy winds, it's better to say, how uh, this is a reference to, you know, uh, the story of how when the Israelites left Egypt and they reached the coast of the Red Sea. And the Egyptian army, the Memphian chivalry, it means the Egyptian army. Chivalry means the brave soldiers of the Egyptian army, which was pursuing the Israelites when they were fleeing, they were running away from uh, Egypt. They wanted to cross the Red Sea. And the Red Sea, these are all stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament, in Exodus, and in such books of the Old Testament, you will find these stories. The the living, how the Israelites left Egypt. Now the Red Sea parted, and the Israelites uh, they passed. However, when the Egyptian army, which was pursuing them, they tried to cross the sea, the waves closed over them, and it caused the destruction of life and horses, so man and animals. So Busiris and his Memphian chivalry. Now, Milton has given the name Busiris to the Egyptian king here, who was drowned in the Red Sea when he was following, or when he was chasing the Israelites. Memphian chivalry means the brave Egyptian soldiers. So Memphis was a city, Memphis. It was the city which was the capital of Egypt. Now, of course, Cairo is the capital of Egypt, but in those early days, Memphis was the capital of Egypt in the early part of history. So that is why they are called Memphian chivalry. So the waves which were, uh, making the sea turbulent because of the influence of Orion, they uh, sort of overthrew, they drowned the Egyptian army and its leader Busiris, while with perfidious hatred they pursued the sojourners of Goshen, who beheld from the safe shore their floating carcasses and broken chariot wheels. So here, with perfidious hatred means the Egyptian king or the Pharaoh. He had given permission to the Israelites to quit Egypt. But later he changed his mind and chased them. So perfidious, this word means treacherous. So earlier they were given permission by the Egyptian Pharaoh. You know, the Egyptian kings were called pharaohs, and he had allowed them to cross the Red Sea and go over elsewhere to leave Egypt peacefully. But later he changed his mind and then he sent his uh, Egyptian army after them. So it is called perfidious hatred, that is a treacherous hatred. And the sojourners of Goshen. Now, Goshen was the name of a district in Egypt. So here the Israelites were had settled. They had originally settled there under their leader Joseph. Now, the sojourners, this word means temporary inhabitants. So where they were not permanent residents of Goshen, but uh, they were temporary inhabitants of this place called Goshen. So uh, it means the Israelites who beheld from the safe shore their floating carcasses and broken chariot wheels. So uh, here it refers to the Israelites who had safely crossed the sea because the Red Sea parted for them to, cross over, but it again closed when the Egyptian army was trying to cross the Red Sea. Now, obviously, the Egyptian army was scattered and destroyed, and the Israelites, from the safety of that opposite shore, they could see how the Egyptian soldiers and the chariots and the horses, they were destroyed. So here is the uh, description of this, the pursuing of the Israelites by the Egyptian army. So, as you can see, I had told you that in this way, actually, John Milton is trying to compare the disheveled and disordered state of the fallen angels. Just as the Egyptian soldiers, they were scattered on the waves of the Red Sea, in the same way, the fallen angels were lying here and there. They were thick as leaves. That is the first comparison, and here comes the second comparison. So the epic similes are, we have to take note of these epic similes. So thick bestrewn, abject and lost, lay these, covering the flood, under amazement of their hideous change. So now comes the final comparison. So thick bestrewn. Bestrewn means lying about, scattered. Abject and lost. So abject and lost, obviously they were crestfallen, they were lost, they had lost heaven. Uh, they were lying, covering the flood. Flood means the sea. So they were covering, they were lying there, so the waves of the sea could not be seen. They were covering the flood. So obviously they were a picture of dejection, a picture of confusion. So the fallen angels are described in this way, under amazement of their hideous change. So they, the description of the Egyptian army, the wreckage of the Egyptian army, it then develops into a picture of the fallen angels, how they were lying on the burning lake, the floating wreckage. So obviously Satan's followers are compared to the uh, destroyed Egyptian army. Likewise, they are also confused, and their hideous change. Of course, they are no longer bright angels as they were in heaven. They are transformed like Satan and Beelzebub. So this is the simile, the epic simile, and epic similes here you will find Milton continues to develop the meaning of the similes. It continues even after he has made his point, and therefore amazement here uh, means, of course, in a kind of a sense of dismay or stupefaction, and they here they were in a kind of a hopeless state. They were, of course, they had no hope of regaining heaven. So the uh, obviously the imagery is like this. So in this portion we have to remember that there are a number of epic similes, and we have to adequately take note of these epic similes. I would ask you to sort of you know uh, make a kind of a list of the epic similes that you are getting from your reading of this book one of Paradise Lost, and that would make it it would be made easier. Your task could be made easier if any question is set on the epic similes used in Paradise Lost book one by the poet. So we have to describe each epic simile at length. So these are the descriptions of the fallen angels whom Satan was now going to call out to. So we come to the end of this description, and then comes Satan, how Satan is calling them. He called so loud that all the hollow deep of hell resounded. So the hollow deep of hell, the whole place, hell, it resounded, it echoed. His voice was like thunder, so it echoed everywhere. And here Satan's speech begins, addressing his soldiers, his compatriots. Princes, potentates, warriors, the flower of heaven, once yours, now lost. If such astonishment as this can seize eternal spirits. So, how does he begin his speech? He begins his speech by addressing them as princes. So, they are the sons of, kings, princes, potentates. Potentates, it means a kind of, some people who are obviously who are powerful enough, and powerful rulers, that is princes, potentates, warriors meaning soldiers, the flower of heaven. So you constitute the flower of heaven, meaning the most important part of heaven. Once yours, now lost. So heaven was once yours, it belonged to you once upon a time, but now it is lost. If such astonishment as this can seize eternal spirits. So he's saying the astonishment means mental prostration. So heaven is lost, and you, the flowers of heaven, are subject to such astonishment. So Satan, you can see he is using a kind of a mocking tone, and he is asking them whether they have undergone such a change as to lie there prostrate, or have ye chosen this place after the toil of battle to repose your wearied virtue, for the ease you find to slumber here as in the vales of heaven. So obviously, in a very mocking, in a very taunting way, Satan asks them that, are you very tired, or you are astonished, or you are sort of transformed by your change, surprised, or you have chosen this place, that is hell, after the toil of battle. So you are extremely tired after your battle, your fight with God, and you are reposing here. You have chosen this place to take rest. Repose means rest. So your varied virtue, that is your qualities, your heavenly qualities, they are sort of varied, or they have gone through, you are tired in that sense. For the ease you find to slumber here. So you are lying here as if you are sleeping peacefully here. Slumber means to sleep, as in the vales of heaven. So as you used to sleep in the valleys of heaven, in the beautiful valleys of heaven, you are doing that. You are doing the same thing here. So it seems that you are sort of, uh, you have chosen this place to take rest. Or in this abject posture have we sworn to adore the conqueror, who now beholds cherub the seraph rolling in the flood. So, or you are trying to, you are adopting this abject, this very mean posture, this attitude, lying there prostrate with your face downwards. Are you trying to adore or worship the conqueror, that is God, who now beholds cherub and seraph rolling in the flood? So cherub and seraph, the different orders of angels, the cherubim, the seraphim, as we had found earlier, with scattered arms and ensigns. So with your banners and your weapons. Arms here means weapons. So everything is lying in a scattered, disordered manner. Till anon his swift pursuers from heaven gates discern the advantage, and descending tread us down. So you are you have chosen to lie here, or to worship God in this way, and you are sort of, obviously you are, while you are doing this, God's swift angels who were pursuing you from heaven, they would be able to see. Discern means see or understand the advantage, that you are lying here defenseless. You have no power to rise and uh, confront them, to fight against them. And descending, they will come down here and they will tread us down. They would really tread us down with their feet, thus drooping, or with linked thunderbolts, transfix us to the bottom of this gulf. So they would come down and they would transfix us. That is, they would sort of pin us down here. And with the thunderbolts, the weapons used by Jupiter or Zeus. So obviously, Satan is trying to inspire them, trying to make them understand the situation. So he's saying that it is no use lying here like this. You have to get up and you have to again reassemble your power. You have to try and uh, sort of rally against God. So, or otherwise, you will remain here like this, transfixed to this bottom of this gulf. Awake, arise, or be forever fallen. So he's shouting at them to get up, get up quickly, or to raise themselves from this sense of stupor, from this sense of, unconscious state, to come to their senses and to arise, stand up, or be forever fallen, or you will continue to lie here in this abject posture. And obviously, if you continue to stay in this posture, uh, Satan's, intention of fighting again with God, to rallying his army again and fighting with God, would not be fulfilled. So here, this speech of Satan, it is a short one. As you can see, it's just a few sentences or lines, but it is full of a number of things. Firstly, it is full of scorn, a kind of a contempt. It has a lot of mockery in it, as well as he is obviously he is uh, trying to sort of you can say rally them, sort of uh, it is a call to a defeated army. So it is a kind of a promise. There are a lot of things here. He's promising them that they would regain heaven. It is of course a combination of mockery and menace. And if they can rise up, they can sort of organize themselves again, then heaven may not be lost, but they are perhaps deliberately wallowing in the fiery lake to enjoy their rest or to show their utter surrender to God. So, obviously, in the resounding last line of this speech, uh, the poet sums up the attempt by Satan to move the fallen angels. So, this speech, it is a mixture of hope, shame, and fear. So, he feels very much a kind of shame to see his army lying in this way, in this manner on the burning lake, and he's putting a sense of fear into their minds that the angels of God, they would come down to hell also if they find them uh, lying like this, and they would be transfixed to the bottom of the fiery lake by the thunderbolts and chains. So let us stop here today till this portion, and I will stop here, and hopefully